Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Saints-Titans preseason game number 3 is Sunday out at the Dome. I'll tell you a few things that I'm looking for in preseason game number 3. We're looking at everybody's projected 53-man rosters. Our buddy Ross Jackson from LouisianaSports.net has his up. And I think everyone naturally is looking at the backup quarterbacks. However, both guys are going to make the team. They're going to keep Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. So they're going to keep 3 on the 53-man roster and on the active roster because they're not going to run the risk of having someone else sign them off the practice squad to an active roster. So they're going to make it. You're going to carry those 3 quarterbacks plus Taysom Hill. So it complicates things with the numbers. But here's my question. If week 1, and we saw this last year, where Derek Carr had multiple concussions, battled a shoulder injury all year.
Yeah, he's going to be broken.
You went to Jameis Winston last year.
Yeah.
Like, literally, ever since 2018, when Breeze banged his thumb off of Aaron Donald's helmet, every year at some point, you've had to play your backup. It's why they went and got a guy like Jameis Winston behind Breeze. And then ultimately, they went and got a guy who had played like a Trevor Siemian. I'm not saying that's a great option. I'm just saying he had been a starter in the league before.
Who's the other guy, the redheaded guy they got?
Andy Dalton.
Yeah, Dalton.
That's why they got Andy Dalton, and who ended up becoming the starter after Jameis got hurt. Mm-hmm. So I look at it and I go, it matters who wins that number 2 job. And while I think Rattler has the higher ceiling than Haener being a pro for a second year, everything they say about him, he's kind of like a killer. He doesn't look like it when you look at him.
He does not.
He's got that mentality that's just like Dagger, will step on his mom to win a game, like that sort of thing. You know what I mean? And so I think it's interesting to see how those 2 guys do in the first game, the first preseason game. Spencer Rattler was great. He led a touchdown drive, led the game-winning field goal drive. Last week, Spencer Rattler was not good. So something's had to give here with those 2 guys. And also, what order did they go? Remember, in the first preseason game, Haener came into the game first, and then Rattler got the second half. And then in the last one, Carr played 3 drives, then Rattler finished the first half, and Haener got the second half. So who goes which way first? That's what I'll be interested in.
How did Haener play
in the 2 preseason games?
In the second preseason game.
They've both been he's been not great.
Yeah, but you said he was a killer.
I know. And he practices well, but that's why I'm also not looking at the preseason game as like the only measure of success or failure of how this goes. That's one. I am fascinated to see what they do on the offensive line because you've got 2 starters, and Dennis Allen has said this on the record. You have 2, like this week, he said, we got 2 guys we feel good about, and it's Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz. You came into camp feeling good about 2 guys, and now at this point, you still only feel good about those 2 starters.
Oh, we're screwed.
Now, if Taliesin Fuanga becomes your starting left tackle,
what did you just say?
If Taliesin Fuanga becomes your starting left tackle, which I think he will, what?
Taliesin Fuanga?
Taliesin Fuanga.
Yeah,
he was the first-round pick this year.
We're done. Who would draft that guy in first round with a name like that in the first round? But you know what? I'm okay with it. I take that back. I'm perfectly fine with it. Because I want them to lose every game. Every single game.
And why do you want them to lose every game?
They just said they have 2 offensive line. How many people play offensive line?
5.
So 3 of them are scrubs, and we have 2 that we feel good about. Like, feel good about is not even saying that are good players. I just feel good that they can play the position, in other words.
McCoy is very good. Ruiz is just a guy. Fuanga could be awesome. And he's been your left tackle all throughout camp, but he injured his back, so he didn't play in the last preseason game, but he's back now. We'll see if he plays on Sunday, but I think they might feel good about it. I think he's shown he's competent and could be really good.
This team sucks, bro.
Yes.
Holy moly.
Yes, they are going to suck this year.
Gosh.
I don't even see a way around it.
Well, at least we can pull the clip, the dumpster fire for Nussmeier. We can pull that clip, and
that was when we were doing the Ride podcast.
Yeah, that was a while back.
Before you just decided to stop showing up.
Yeah, that was a while back. And they can get him, and we can get a real quarterback in here if they What's the worst record the Saints have ever had? Have they ever just lost?
They were 1-15 in 1980. It's when they got the number 1 pick and they took George Rogers, the Heisman running back out of South Carolina.
I hope they don't win a game.
That's not going to happen.
I'm pulling for them to lose every game.
Listen, here's what I'll say. This is I think still a very competent, if not good, defensive team. I think Brian Brzee, your first round of a year ago, looks like he has taken a big. He was a good player rotational a year ago. I think he can be a good starter for you this year.
What position does he play?
Defensive tackle. So I'm working my way through the defense. I think you're still very good at linebacker with Demario Davis and Pete Werner when they're healthy. I think you're elite at cornerback with Lattimore and Adebo and Taylor, and you drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry. Like, I think you are elite at corner. You got 4 guys that I could say, or I'm good with any of them. You have Tyron at safety, who's getting older, and then you got Jonathan Abram and Jordan Howden at the other safety spot, who I think are good NFL starting caliber players. They're not great, and I think you could look for an upgrade. But the defense, I think, is fine. And Dennis Allen has built good defenses here. That's undeniable. He's a really good defensive coach, and I think they will be a good defensive team. Maybe not a top 5. Like, they might not be the Browns from last year. They're not going to be a top 5 defense in the NFL, but are they going to be a good, better than serviceable defense? Yes, I think that. I just don't know that I trust anything on this offense to work. I don't like Derek Carr.
No,
the offensive line is not good. You have an aging Alvin Kamara. You have probably...
Who plays wide receiver?
I was going to say next, you probably have the weakest wide receiver, top to bottom wide receiver room, the least depth.
Would you say...
In the NFL.
Would you say LSU has more depth than they do? Wide receiver?
So this is going to... Hold on. It's a fair question, and I'll answer it. Muse, when you were putting show prep doc this week, didn't you find something that rated like by position group? I thought maybe you found something where like the Saints.
It wasn't this week. It was something similar. They rated teams by skill position. Or wait, no, wait. I know what you're talking about.
I thought it was something like the Saints receivers were like 29th.
I know what you're talking about. Let me find it.
All right, see if you can find that. But so the interesting thing is, like, to your question, would I take out LSU or the Saints? This year,
yeah,
I would take, like right now, I would take the Saints because they're still pros, and you can't let this
last year's LSU wide receiving core.
Yes,
against this year's Saints wide receiving core.
I would take last year's LSU because Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas are pros. I think Kyron Lacy is a pro as well. I think any of those 3 are better than any of. Let me rephrase. Chris Olave is a 1,000-yard receiver at the NFL level. Rashid Shaheed is a 700-yard guy a year ago and is a total burner. Those are legit guys. Those are legitimate NFL receivers. So too are Neighbors and Brian Thomas. After those 2, everyone you have is a pro. Like, there are professional football players that have made a roster, and they're like, don't have any misgivings. But if you ask me, if we fast forward 10 years from now and say, who had a better run collectively? The receivers on LSU's roster today or the guys on the Saints roster today, I would tell you the LSU guys. If you gave me Lacy and Hilton and Daniels and Xavion Thomas and Shelton Sampson and Kyle Park, you give me all those guys, and you gave me Olave Shaheed, A.T. Perry, Bub Means, Cedric Wilson, you say, all right, in 10 years, who's going to have a better resume in 10 years? I would take the guys at LSU now. But today, give me Olave and Shaheed because they're already established in the NFL. I mean, it's a silly hypothetical, but you asked it, so I wanted to answer it.
A silly hypothetical would be: would you rather the St. George Dragons 7th and 8th grade wide receiving core or the New Orleans Saints?
Okay,
that would be a silly hypothetical.
That would be a silly hypothetical.
This one is legit.
Let me just say then, it's an unrealistic hypothetical because obviously that's never going to happen. But if I had to say, if we look back in 10 years from now and say who had longer, better cumulative pro careers,
that's without a question.
Because I don't think. Maybe Bub Means becomes a quality player. I don't know that I believe he will. Maybe A.T. Perry becomes a really good, consistent player. I don't know that he will. But it's interesting. I mean, we'll just wait and see.
Let me just say this too. I think Alvin Kamara stinks. I'm over him.
I do not want Alvin Kamara slander. You're going to take that and you're going to walk. You're going to no. You're going to take that and you're going to walk that right out the door.
Mm-mm.
Because Alvin Kamara is the most dynamic offensive player the Saints have ever had. He's the
Reggie Bush.
Alvin Kamara is undeniably and a better NFL player than Reggie Bush. Not even debatable. listen to me, not even debatable. You can get all hyped about what Reggie was when he was drafted, but Alvin Kamara is the New Orleans Saints all-time touchdown leader. He's just a man that's approaching 30. He has had a lot of wear and tear recently, especially because when they got rid of Mark Ingram, he had to shoulder a larger burden. But Alvin Kamara, in his career, has... Stupid pop-ups. Alvin Kamara has 54 career rushing touchdowns and... What is this?
Eric Martin's better
than 23 career receiving touchdowns. What you got, Muse?
Well, I found the receiver thing.
Go ahead, because I'm quick. So, and then Reggie Bush, in his career, has 36. Reggie Bush had 36 rushing touchdowns. Kamara's at 54. Reggie Bush had 18 receiving touchdowns. I told you Kamara's at 23. Yards per carry for his career. This is organized.
How many kick returns
so
or punt returns?
Hang on.
I think Joe Horn's a better player than Alvin Kamara, honestly.
Reggie Bush, 4.3 yards per carry. Alvin Kamara, 4.4 yards per carry. Everywhere you go up and down, Kamara has been a better pro than Reggie Bush. Period. That's not even debatable. He's the greatest, most dynamic skill player the Saints have had. I will not take the Alvin Kamara blasphemy. It is fair, however, to say he is on the backside of his career and he's a descending player right now, which happens to everybody. And I happen to think that's the case with Kamara. I hope that he's healthy and has a great bounce back year. But we'll wait and see. All right, really quickly, Muse, go ahead.
Yeah, they ESPN did this ranking. They ranked the Saints wide receiver core 28th out of 30. It was the third lowest ranked position on the Saints team.
All right, so I thought I remember that correctly. So that's not even me saying it. That's ESPN's metric saying the Saints are the 28th best receiving. So you're not good at receiver. You're not good at quarterback. You're not good on the offensive line. You could be okay at tight end. You got an aging, descending running back. I just don't think this offense is salvageable. So we'll get an answer soon enough. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.